Welcome back to the Occasional Farm Boy. Today we have, as you can see, 16 chainsaws here. Now 70% of them run, the other 30% don't run, so that means 5 don't run and the rest do. I do have some more that I haven't had fixed up yet, but these are the ones that are mostly complete, almost ready to go, and let's get to it. So we'll start off with our Homelite collection here. So the first two chainsaws here, these are both Homelite XL 922s. These here, I think they're 72 cc's. Yeah, 72 cc's. And they're older saws, but they're the biggest modern type saw that I have here of the Homelites. These ones here, well, as you can see, they mount up very good to the Husqvarna Tech-Lite bars, 28 inches. This is probably the cleanest Homelite XL 922 I've had or seen, and it's pretty clean. The guy before me, he did all the gas lines, and I think he put a new carb kit in, and it looks very, very clean. The only thing is, this one here, I think it has crank seal leak. Side to side, very slight, but enough that it needs to get looked at. This one here, I haven't looked into it, don't know if it runs or anything, but it's all complete. It even has the handbrake there, which isn't super common for these 922s. So those are the 922s. Now we come to the XL76. This one also has a chain brake. It didn't come with the saw. I found a chain brake and added it to it, so the actual covers colors don't match up very perfectly. So that's the only change that I've done to this one here. Of course, I think I've gone through the carb, but otherwise this has been a pretty reliable, self-sufficient saw here. Now we come to another saw you guys might not know. It's a Homelite 340. This is a 54 cc chainsaw, and it's probably the last of the actual good Homelites. It's modern, looks modern, all plastic, but it does have the actually I can't remember. Yeah, it has the complete crankcase. It's not as clamshell cylinder. I got this chainsaw in a bucket, 5-gallon bucket. I think it came for $12, and I had to put it all back together. As you can see, I had to supplement some exhaust bolts here. These two here are definitely not the stock ones, but I just had to weld them up and got them to fit right into the head. And it's also had new crank seal, also a carb kit replacement, and other than that, I've been able to source all the parts that were in the bucket, slap it all together, and it was good to go. Next up, we have a XL1 automatic. So this is, I think it's a 42 cc chainsaw. This is the chainsaw that you would buy at Canadian Tire back in the day, or not, maybe not Canadian Tire, but like whatever local store was around. Not much to say about this thing. It's except that it's quite a dog for how small size it is. Like this, compared to this guy here, much bigger. This one here is very slim, very flat. Even the design and the shaping, very much like the 70s. All the slick angles and everything like that. It's a very, very modern old chainsaw. It has quite a bit of torque to it. And I'll show you a Poulan chainsaw, which has been modified. But this one here is almost comparable to that Poulan, with these upgrades on it. Not a stock one, that's for sure. It's not comparable to a stock one. Next up, we have our MS880. This one here came to me, and well, actually two came in. They both had the bottom end bearings all shot out, the bearing balls that were inside the bearing must have cracked or something, came out into the crankcase and destroyed the cylinder head. And yeah, so this one here has a different head in it. Bearings replaced, seals replaced, whole thing was split, reassembled. So this thing is pretty much a wholly sorted saw. The only difference that's not sorted yet is recoil. I just found some whatever recoil or string that was thin enough to find, so this has to get replaced with the string I found at the back there. So that will have to get replaced. And as you can see, I don't have a 404 chain for it yet. 404 chain, they're sort of hard to come by, and not a whole lot of stores actually stock it in. They always have to order it in. So I'll have to see what I can do to get some chain for this bar. And I know you're thinking, that looks like a pretty small bar for that chainsaw. But this bar here I was able to find in a whole pile of bars, and it fits perfectly. Oiler lines up, it's an Oregon bar, and roller nose as well. So that one runs just fine. It's pretty clean, and I did quite a bit of work to it, but it runs space gasket delete. It just has some Permatex gasket sealer in there. Next up, we have our Stihl MS660. This chainsaw here looks like a modern normal chainsaw, but underneath the hood we have a 99cc Titanical cylinder head and piston combo in there, and the piston is a pop-up piston on top of that. So it's putting out, with the base gasket delete, is putting out a whopping 220 psi compression. This thing is a hug to pull over. Like, you push the decompression valve in, you pull it, you push the decompression valve in, you yank it again, you have to push it every single time you want to pull it. And you better not forget, otherwise you might get a backfire and it like just rips your hand. That's why I opted out for this D-style firefighter handle here. And even with that handle, I still got a good grip. It still, if you're not careful, it can rip it right back down inside that recoil casing. And it hurts a little bit if you get in the wrong spot. That one there also has just stock. Everything else is stock. The muffler's opened up a bit, and a 36-inch bar running on it right now. Otherwise, new bearings, seals, split the whole thing. It's been totally rebuilt with that new cylinder. Next up, we have an 038 Magnum. This is the 72cc chainsaw, so that's comparable with the XL922s. And this one here, also comparable, or the next series down from the Stihl MS440. This saw here, the only thing I had to do with it was seals, of course, and the air filtration in the back had an Arctic filter, I think they call them, for cutting through ice and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really an actual filter to actually filter out all the dust that comes along with wood chips and chainsaw cutting wood, not ice. So I swapped that out, got rid of that Arctic combo package air filter, replaced it with a proper air filter. Next up, we have our Stihl 038 AV Farm Boss. This is probably one of my first chainsaws I've had. I did have a Pioneer P26 before this one, but I just did not like it very much. Didn't seem to have the proper amount of power and torque. It's one of my very earliest videos. I took a video of it, how the decompression valve worked, and I think I also took it off on a comparison of the a Craftsman chainsaw, I think. But that was horrible. Chains were not sharp, so that was not a really good comparison. So this thing here, very little I've had to do with it. I don't even think I'd replace the seals or anything. And I bought it for $100 with another chainsaw in the same package deal. And so you sell that chainsaw, and this one here is probably roughly only $50 that I spent on that one. This one here is a Stihl MS250C. This is probably my cleanest chainsaw, with the toolless bar tensioner and changer. I love this It's so simple to start. You push the primer bulb that's on the other side, put the choke lever down all the way to the bottom, give it a pull, you wait, count, let's say, have a conversation with your friend Tony, and then it'll start up. And then you flick it up to the run position, give it a pull, go have a good coffee, and it'll be running by the time you get back. Love that saw. It's so fun to start. I could just turn it off, start it, turn it off, start it, just for the fun of it. And that one there I got for $26. It also was in pieces, had a broken crankshaft. I got a new crankshaft, and I think I got a new clutch cover as well, and a few other pieces I changed out. And then also the new bar and bar cover, scabboard, and otherwise it's a really nice running saw. Very, very light, so easy to use, and very good chainsaw if you want to get into chainsaws and don't feel like yanking a ripcord real hard all the time. Next up, we have our little top handle 193T. This is 30 cc's. Only issue with it right now is the cylinder, I suspect, has problems with it. So it doesn't run very well. Runs very rough, hard starting. So this one here is going to need an overhaul. I just haven't got to it yet. So this is the Homelite collection and the Steel collection. Now this next side is just all my random off-bulge saws that I have, but I keep them because there's something always cool about each one. This one here is a Lombard, which is similar to the Homelite XL12, as well as the, I'm missing it right now, the Remington, I think? Remington as well. Homelite, Remington, and Lombard. They were all competing against making a good saw. They're very, very similar in design. Some of the bolts are different, some of the sizes, crankshaft sizes, clutch bearing sizes, they're different, but overall style is all the same. I'm also running a 20-inch Husqvarna bar on here. Bar mounts up just perfect. I have a clutch that you can run interchangeable Stihl clutch rims. This thing here is 72 cc's as well. It's pretty powerful. I think I have an 8-pin on there right now, or yeah, 8-pin, and so I got lots of our chain speed and lots, not a whole lot of torque, but this thing growls like you wouldn't believe. It's very, very, very loud. I think I can almost see the cylinder in from the exhaust. There's very little restriction on there. Did nothing to it, but it's just very, very, very loud. It sounds real good too. Like, it's not a bad sounding saw. Up next, this is the Poulan I was talking about. You may have seen this one in the pulling that tree over. I was using this one as my main limbing saw. It's pretty light. It's got a 20-inch bar on it, 0.325 chain on it. This saw here, it's the cheapest saw I have that doesn't matter if it burns up or anything. So this is the one I can just throw into wood. The only problem is it's running real good right now. Got this I think it was a 49cc dirt bike engine or a muffler exhaust on it with the expansion chamber. All I did was just cut it off, added an extra, I think it was 1.5 inches, and welded the two halves together, cut out my own adapter plate for the exhaust to bolt it up, and this thing here runs real good. I just haven't had time to start putting in new carburetor, bigger size carburetor, max flow air filter and that kind of stuff yet, but as of now, just this pipe here alone, it's probably added like probably 10% of the power that this thing had. I being a little bit generous, I think, but this thing here is a beast just from adding that exhaust. The high screw, I must have turned out an extra half to a full turn just to get it to tune to this pipe. It's guzzles gas quick too. This one here is my Canadian 270. This is a Vancouver, BC chainsaw, a PM Canadian 270 or PM 270. This is I think it's a 99cc chainsaw right here. I have 3 of these chainsaws. One's in a box, all in pieces. I was thinking of repainting it as well as rebuilding it. I just ran out of time, and it's still in the box. But this, I believe it does spark and it does fire just from gas down the cylinder. But check out that exhaust. That's a beautiful looking exhaust. That huge exhaust port, unbelievable. It's huge. And it even has the bolt on top cylinder, so it's just like a dirt bike. You take the top of the head off, you can see the piston. You don't have to take the whole cylinder out and then you can get to the piston. You can just take the head off. That's another cool part about these chainsaws. They just built them like they were even bigger than what a chainsaw was supposed to be. Next up, we have a Japanese chainsaw here. This is a Tanuc. I don't even know what model it is. Oh yeah, ESC 505. My guess is a 50cc chainsaw. Not 100% sure on that. This thing here does spark and it does fire. I just haven't had the chance to actually get into it, rebuild the carburetor or anything like that. But that chainsaw, it looks pretty solid. Like, the paint's amazing on there, and it's heavy, it's well built, it's a good chainsaw overall. I just haven't had a chance to get it going. Next up, we have our Jonsered 70E. This is the early model. This one here had the coil pack underneath the flywheel, and those were very common to actually break. So what I did was I sold my working coil, flywheel, and coil. I sold that all as a working package. Then I bought myself a modern, or the second gen Jonsered 70E flywheel. So I purchased that with a new coil, and now I don't have to worry about that thing ever breaking. It's robust, it's fixed, it's even a new coil. I can still get brand new coils, and all I'm missing is the oiler under here. Those seals in there are no good, and I'm getting a crankcase leak out of there. So new seals, I think I had this thing all apart actually. I actually had to get a new cylinder head and piston for it as well because they were scored up. So those ones there are new, that way I could bolt up my coil to the cylinder. So that was actually quite a bit of the chainsaw to actually replace, but it's on the mend to get repaired. I also had the Jonsered 49 or SP49. That chainsaw here is not here right now. It's actually in a box, but it needs to get fixed first, and I'm waiting for something. I think I'm just waiting to put it back together. Actually, it's not that much to put together, but it just got to get put back together. So that's what I'm waiting for. What other saws do I have? Oh yeah, I'm missing one. I'll be right back. So this is the chainsaw I had forgotten about. This is a Mecolic 140, Mecolic Mini Mac 140 actually. This chainsaw here, just a small little top handle, good, like I think it's like 32 cc's, I think. This chainsaw here hasn't done me anything wrong really. The only thing is the carburetors are atrocious to get to. You pretty much have to pull the whole chainsaw out of this casing here, and it takes quite a bit of wiggling and twisting and getting it into wiggle in place. But once it's out, then you can rebuild the carb. So I pulled the whole thing out again, soaked the carburetor in like almost boiling hot water, like blew out all the ports and everything, took all the screens out, everything, and I found there's a little bit of dirt right underneath the filter. I can't remember which filter, but it was one of the screen filters inside the carburetor, and there was that dirt there that was restricting the fuel flowing. And after I cleaned that out, had the carburetor soaking for an hour, putting carburetor cleaner, I don't know, brushes I guess, and picks, and I cleaned out every single bore and hole and channel where the gasoline flowed, cleaned every single part of it out, put it back together, and it runs really good now. Like, it's very non-temper tantrum, and it's a good saw overall. It's pretty light, and it got torque on it too. The one thing I'm missing is this part here. This is a Mecolic 140. difference between the 140 and McCulloch 110s is you have this extra hole here. That hole there is not there on purpose. What was supposed to be there was a chainsaw sharpener. So while you ran the chainsaw, you could just sharpen your chain. Just sharpen your chain. How convenient would that be? That was way ahead of the time before today, where we're coming out with these electric self-sharpening battery-operated chainsaws. There was self-sharpening chainsaws even before today. This was one of them. This was the one. It had the special chain that you could just press the stone on and it would sharpen it right away. I don't know how good it really worked. I'm missing that half, or that actual sharpening piece. Like, getting the chain wouldn't be too bad, but to get that sharpening piece in there, to find one, that takes quite a bit of work. So all I have is just the conventional chain on it right now, and it cuts just fine as is. I just have to pull it off to sharpen it rather than just pushing the button, and it would stone that was underneath would sharpen the chain. So that was a really cool feature McCulloch had on that this particular model. The 110, it didn't have it. It was just covered up here. You had to take the, of course, you had to take the chain off, sharpen it, or get your file out. But this was the 140. You could just press the button and sharpen it. Anyways, so we're all done with this collection of chainsaws that I've talked about. How about we go run them through some wood and just hear them growl away, and that'll be fun, I think. So let's just get these going. So number one, it's gonna be this Homelite XL 922. This chainsaw here has, I'm pretty sure, has a crankcase leak, so we're not gonna run it too hard. Probably only get it halfway through the piece of wood before I turn it off. I don't want to damage it any more than it is. But I think the cylinder and everything's fine. It's all mechanically fine, just needs those seals. I'll just run it just for a little bit. So that's a healthy sounding chainsaw. I just want to pressure test it before I actually put it to real work. Up next is this Homelite XL, what's it, 76? Also the VI 130. Up next, we have our Homelite 340, 54 cc's actually. Let's start this thing up. Funny thing is about this chainsaw is in the stop position it runs, the run position it turns off. So, just like that Case tractor, this is the opposite. Let's get this thing going. This thing does sound like a good chainsaw. Oh, looks like my exhaust came loose. Flopping around now. Up next, not gonna quite fit, but this is the Homelite XL1, 42 cc's. Oh, the other cool thing about this saw is the decompression valve. When you push in the throttle lock, it also pulls the decompression valve right on the chainsaw, so it is easier to pull over. Definitely needs a sharper chain, but you can hear it does sound like it growls really good. Up next, we have the Stihl MS660, or sorry, Stihl MS880. This is 122 cc's, I believe it is. This one here, we don't have a handbrake or anything, no bar or chain, but let's just hear it run. Alright, decompression valve. This thing's a beast. And now we're at the Stihl MS660. This is probably one of my favorite chainsaws. Just the fact that I spent so much time on it. Putting cylinders in, swapping them out, doing all this kind of stuff. And spent quite a bit of time just cutting wood with it too. And also very good, very good compression on it. So let's go start this thing up, and hopefully I don't pull it the wrong way. How's that sound? That's one thing I have to look into the saw. It seems to like continue to slowly rev down, not just, it's like immediate throttle response, but then it slowly dies down. I gotta figure out what's wrong with this thing. And as you can see, the chain needs sharpening and it'll tighten up. So I think that'll be enough for this saw here. Needs a little bit of looking after, make sure it's all right. Up next, 038 AV, or 038 Magnum. Let's start this guy up. thing, you need to throw a whole lot at it to keep it happy. This thing loves to sink in the wood. And 72cc is not bad. Up next is our Stihl 038 Farm Boss. 60 cc's. Equivalent to the MS 360. Much quieter sound than the other one. This one definitely needs a tune and a sharper chain for sure. The high screw, it seems like it's a little bit too riching it up. Wasn't running near as high of RPM as the last one, or the 038 Magnum. But this is 60 cc's, so it's 12 cc's less. So this is a little brother to that 038 Magnum. Up next is Stihl MS250C. This is what I mean. See? Turn it off, hit start again. There we go, see? Quite a bit of power packed under here, and sounds good too. All right, this is the loudest chainsaw I have in my entire collection. This thing is loud. You'll hear it when I start it up. See what I mean? It has lots of speed. Just doesn't really, you can't really tug up on it. but this thing just goes, just gobbles up whatever it got. It also guzzles gas too, but that thing just rips. And it sounds like it's super happy when it's actually given some wood chips to actually eat. It sounds a whole lot happier when it's under load. This is one of my favorites too. This is the Poulan hot saw, as I call it. It's hot because this pipe gets really hot when you run it for a while, and you're always like this, right? So, because you don't want to be grabbing it like this, you don't want it too close, so you hold it off a little bit to the side here. But if your arm touches right there, you get a burn mark right on your elbow there. I've had experience, don't worry. I know. It's a hot saw, that's why. So let's go get this thing started. So apart from the unsharp chain that's not super sharp, you can definitely hear this thing four-stroking. Now as soon as I lift it up high, and then it growls right back into workload. It's very easy to hear, and that's what four-stroking is. That's how you know exactly where to tune it by ear rather than by the tachometer. So saw like this, very, very easy to tune. And that's why I'm always fiddling with the tuning on this one, because I know exactly where it likes to be. Right, I didn't touch the tuning this time, but it still took on pretty good, and except for this chain, of course. But this thing, it's really easy to tune it. Okay, this is the last chainsaw for today. Probably hasn't been started in like 2 months probably, so I'm hoping it'll start for us. Has a little bit of gas in it. I'm not sure if it's enough gas in there, but we'll give it a shot. So just the power switch, choke, and let's see what happens. This probably needs some tuning, but might just start up. Nope, that's not it. Let's start this. Try this. Yeah. So the McCulloch 140 decided to start for us. Just needed some more juice in it, and now it's ready to go. This chainsaw here actually cleans up real good if all the dust is off. The only damage of paint is right on the bottom, right where you would put it on the ground. That's the only spot where paint's missing. This chainsaw has an amazing paint job on it, and it doesn't look like someone redid it, but if they did, it's holding on really well. And made in Canada. Don't see that very much anymore. So let's fire this thing up. can see, this thing, pretty decent chainsaw. Like, it was just cutting right through here, no problem. The only problem is I noticed the automatic oiler doesn't seem to be working, and my manual pump also doesn't seem to be priming this system to actually get it to go into the bar and then therefore to the chain. So I decided to stop it. Just still quite a decent chainsaw for how many, 32 cc's maybe? Not bad at all. This thing here's almost as good as like the Stihl MS250C, even though it doesn't have that easy pull. Anyways, there's one more I want to show you. This was the one you guys were probably most looking forward to. This is, I think, a 1.5 pound axe head. It's doesn't even have a name on it. Well, that's quite all right. I like the long hook on the nose. Long hook here. I just like the style of this handle, and the handle looks really cool. The reason why it does is I just put splotches, I think. Yeah, what I did was I put the whole handle in like car engine oil, used the torch, heat it up a little area at a time, and the oil would get real hot, and it would like sort of like boom, boom, boom. It would burn the wood like boom, boom, rather than a whole continuous one. So that's why it looks really splotchy burns, and I think that looks like a pretty cool look, and keeps the wood better that way too. And then I coated this thing all in oil, so this handle should be good for a real long time. And it's not a super thick handle, it's just a good general use axe. It's not like of course it's not a beater like this, bang, but it's just a good axe to have around. Take off a few twigs, play around with some wood. It's just this thing still got damage to it. This thing still can do some damage, but it's definitely not as quick as one of these chainsaws. Anyways, thanks for watching, and glad you made it this far to the end of the video, and hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.